watching a spider and making sure it doesn't jump on me. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is T, and you're watching yet another episode of TokYo-Yo Reviews. Thanks for all the likes, comments, and subscriptions. I just this morning hit 400 subscribers, so thanks a lot, guys. Remember, giveaway at 500, so let's keep it going. Where did that spider go? Those are the words that no one ever wants to hear. Where did the spider go? Alright, but today what we're getting into is a review that I've tried to make 3 separate times now, and I think I'm finally ready for it. Anyone who's been watching my Instagram knows why already, but let's get into it today. Today we're going to be talking about the YoYoFactory Superstar Pulsar Edition. So, there's the spider. I've chased him off of this chair like 3 times now. Why do you like this chair so much? He's actually pretty cute though. Yeah, he's like freaking out right now. Losing his little spider mind. Alright, shoo. Shoo. Don't worry, I didn't kill it, I just brushed him off. So, is this superstar gonna fade out before its time, or is it gonna shine bright for all to see? Pretty much an H-shaped yo-yo. You've got a very sharp incline to the rim here. These rims are really big. In the cup, you have a flat cup in here. The original Superstar had a space for hub stacks. This one's just flat with the engraving for the Pulsar edition. And then going into that flatness, there's just this sort of smoothed area here. The material is actually a very nice 6061 aluminum. It's very smooth. It looks glossy, and it is glossy, but it's actually very nice for grinds as well. But it feels very soft and consistent. The feel of the yo-yo, I expected it to be uncomfortable because it is quite angular, but it does fit in the hand quite well. It's not the most comfortable yo-yo you're going to hold ergonomically speaking, but it does fit very well. The look of the yo-yo is quite special because this is the Pulsar edition, which there was a series of yo-yos that were released a few years back that all had this kind of colorway and design. It does have the blue base and then a purple acid wash, I believe that is. And then it's got the engravings along the rim here and the engravings inside the cup as well, which are very nice. And they kind of fit that Pulsar theme, I suppose. So one thing I want to get out of the way in the history of this yo-yo is that I did not pay for this. This was sent to me by my family, by my mother, when she was on vacation in Honolulu at the Pearl Ridge Center at a store called Razor Concepts. She talked to someone named Preston there, who she said was very helpful, so thanks a lot. Doesn't matter if I pay for something or if it's sent to me, I will always give you my honest review, I promise you that. This was released as a series called the Pulsar Collection, so there was the Shutter, the One Star, the Superstar here, and then the Genesis as well, that all were released with this kind of pattern and with different colorways. But basically they were the same yo-yo with the new colorway, kind of re-released as a special edition. So you can consider this the redesigned Superstar without the hub stacks, but with the special edition colorway. Now, along with the history of this yo-yo as well, this thing has actually been radically redesigned recently. The Bimetal Superstar was released very recently, and that is nothing like this at all. And I think now I understand why everybody talks about the new Superstar and a lot of people don't like it as much, or it's kind of a divisive yo-yo, I think, because it is so wildly different from this one. I didn't even know what this was when I first saw it. I wasn't expecting anything like this. Yeah, the disconnection between the two designs is pretty strong, but we'll get into kind of playability and style later. Another thing I need to talk about with the history of this yo-yo is I had a really big problem with this one. I've made this review before, and when I was filming the review, I was looking at the gap and I noticed, oh, that's funny. It's not flush. There's some space between the halves. I'll have to check that out later. And it had been wobbling really badly on me. When I first got it, it was pretty smooth. Not dead smooth, but pretty smooth. And after playing with it for a bit, it started to kind of get wobbly and vibey on me. So I took it apart after I made the last review, and the axle was completely lodged into one side of the yo-yo, completely jammed in there, way too far, and it was barely screwing into the other side. I could not remove the axle by myself. I tried everything. I searched Reddit, I searched Yo-Yo Expert, I used every trick in the book, and the axle would not come out. So I pretty much gave up on it. It was unplayable. And then yesterday, actually, I took it to Spin Gear, and the gentleman there very kindly said, oh, yep, no problem. It'll just be a second. Took it in the back, popped the axle out, gave me a new axle. Thank you guys. Spin Gear is awesome. And it's been okay since then. It's still pretty vibey. You can feel it on the string, but this yo-yo is definitely still playable. So basically at this point, I'm going to be very, very careful with it. It is a limited edition, so it's probably going to see a little bit more shelf than some of my other yo-yos just because I want to keep it nice. But just so you know, that did happen with this one. And I'm going to get into a little bit more of this in the cons, but just so you know why this review took so long to come out. As for playability of the Superstar, this thing plays really heavy, it plays really solid, I feel. This is part of the time when yo-yos had this design where, okay, you guys want rim weight? Poof, here's a rim. You want more rim weight? Poof, here's another rim. Yo-yos these days have a little bit more elegance in terms of design and how weight is placed, especially with like bimetals, like the Space Cadet, for example, the way that the metal ring kind of complements the design. This is, you want rim weight? There you go, there's your rim weight. And I kind of like that. It's a very industrial design. It's very straightforward, and I think that's cool. Because of the rim here, the big giant rim, which is very nice and rounded. You've got a nice thumb grind lip in here. Thumb grinds are a total breeze. No need to throw it a tilt. As I mentioned, this finish is actually really good for grinds, although it does look a bit glossy. Your finger fits right in, and it grinds very, very long. It does slow down after a little bit, but I was shocked at how well it grinds for having such a glossy finish. It can finger spin a little tiny bit. You got to catch it at an angle, and it's going to orbit around a little bit, and once your finger hits that engraving, it's going to skip around. But I have gotten some successful finger spins with it. Very nice response on this thing too. I was shocked that the response still worked as well as it did for being such an older yo-yo and for probably having sat around a lot. I don't know what pads these are. They look like blue, I don't know, maybe just standard YoYoFactory pads. The bearing in here, summer, y'all, you got bugs flying in my ear here. The bearing here is a, jeez man, am I getting ganged up on by bugs all of a sudden? The bearing in here is a center track bearing, not the original that came with it. That one got kind of screwed up when I was trying to pull it out. That's another thing about this yo-yo. The bearing seat is extremely tight. I did kind of mess up the bearing trying to get it out because it was completely jammed in there and it was kind of off center. It wasn't really sitting flush, so I had to get it out. Talked a lot of game about this yo-yo, but it is really fun actually. I had a lot of fun with it when it was working better when I first got it. I'm hoping that someday maybe I can take the axle out and tune it a little bit more, but for now I'm just kind of scared to do anything with it besides just play it for this review and then let it sit for a while, and then maybe once it's settled I'll come back to it and I don't know, maybe I can tune it or something. But let's get into pros and cons of the Superstar Pulsar Edition. The color is really, really nice. This acid wash is just gorgeous. It looks nice when it's spinning, and I like the rings here. I know I always talk about how engravings are unnecessary, but I think they're pretty cool on here, and since this is an older designed yo-yo and it's not really built for finger spins or anything like that, I think it's fine that it has these. They don't really get in the way too much, and I think they accentuate the color. I love the design. I love the kind of V shape, and I love these big industrial rims that just they just add weight. That's all they're for. There's nothing subtle about this. They're just, poof, there's some rims for you. There's some extra weight. Really nice finish. This thing is glossy and shiny, but not too much. And because of that finish, it grinds really nicely too. It just feels solid. It feels really well built. Although I had problems with it, it still does feel quite reliable in the hand. As for cons, this one is probably going to be hard to find these days. I posted about it on Reddit and people said it's a little bit more rare than of course a regular Superstar just because of the special edition color, but you can probably still find it somewhere. It is going to be pricey because of that. There were a couple places I saw them online where they were listed at being around $100. I know that older yo-yos from a few years back, there was a time when a lot of the metal yo-yos were higher price than they are now. Things are getting to that kind of more budget range, I guess you could call it. And especially because it is a limited edition, I don't think you'll get this one for less than its original asking price, unless you're getting it off the BST, unless someone like me was selling one, basically. And the third con is the axle problem. Okay, let's talk about tuning yo-yo factories for a second. I have yo-yos from a lot of different brands, and I've taken bearings and axles out of a whole bunch of them and put new ones in or swapped them around, and I've never had a problem with One Drop or Yo-Yo Empire or a Magic Yo-Yo or anything like that. Even the companies that get a lot of crap for having cheaper parts, I've never had problems tuning them or taking them apart. This one wasn't my fault. I took this apart because it was vibing and the axle was already jammed inside. I may have mentioned in my reviews before I had a checkpoint before, and that had the exact same problem. It started wobbling on me, so I took it apart and the axle was so far jammed in that I had to literally cut into the axle with like a pair of pliers to get it out. Like there was no other way it was coming out. And it's really frustrating because I love YoYoFactory yo-yos, and when they are not playing at their best, it can be more bugs. When they're not playing at their best, it can be really frustrating because, especially with like a yo-yo like the Checkpoint, that was my first nice metal. I wanted to keep it playing nice, so when it started vibing on me, I wanted to fix that. But as soon as I opened it, I realized that it was already messed up and there was like nothing I could do. Same thing happened here, and now I'm kind of afraid to take any of my other yo-yo factories apart because of that. Now I'm not sure if that's just me, if I've had a really bad experience with those, or if I've just been unlucky. I think there is one other yo-yo factory I've taken apart, which is the Space Cadet. And that one I didn't have a big problem with. I don't know if it's build quality because it's a bimetal, it has to be all built more nicely, or what it is. And I've been extremely careful with all my yo-yos from the start. I know I've mentioned that I don't like taking my yo-yos apart for review, but I do like taking them apart to tune them if I can, or to put a new bearing in. I just put the 16 ball into my Boreas Pro, and that thing is playing amazingly. But it's really frustrating that these awesome yo-yos that I want to play and I want to fix and I want to, you know, put nicer bearings in seem to fight me every time I take them apart. So let me know in the comments, is it just me? Was I really unlucky? I'm not trying to call out YoYoFactory like there's bad design or bad quality control or anything. I'm just wondering if you're not supposed to take yo-yo factories apart and I just missed the memo, or if I just got some bad models or whatever. Let me know in the comments. I really like YoYoFactory as a company. One of these days I'm gonna make a review of my very, 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 very favorite yo-yo factory, and I think a lot of you will probably agree with me on that. It's in my top 5 still. Top 5 favorite yo-yos of all time. I'm just thinking about that one right now. I want to go home and get it. And our last segment of this review is, who is the superstar for? I think these superstars for somebody who wants something a little bit more classic. That's not to say this is old-fashioned or, you know, too old or anything like that. It does have these enormous rims, as I said. It doesn't have the finger spin hub going on. It's designed for an older generation of modern yo-yoing, and there's nothing wrong with that. It kind of feels like a nice bridge between what yo-yos were in the late 2000s and what they're becoming now. It sort of bridges the gap between those two eras. Like, it's not too crazy modern, but it's extremely solid and extremely reliable, extremely well built, and it's a fantastic all-rounder. So, how should I say this? If you're looking for something that's not really built the same way that yo-yos are built now, but you want something that plays really, really fantastically, get a Superstar. I don't know if you're going to be able to find it in this colorway, but it is a really fun yo-yo, and I think it's worth checking out if you get the chance. Anyway guys, that's going to be it for me today. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for liking, commenting, subscribing. I hope you enjoyed the video today. Let's get to 500 so I can give away something. And actually, I do have an idea what I'm going to give away very soon. My wife helped me think of something, so I'm very excited. If we ever hit 500, I'll be able to let you guys know what I'm giving away. But anyway guys, thanks so much. Take care, have a nice day, and sayonara.